The Colosseum of Rome, once the grandest arena of the ancient world, now sits as a skeletal monument to bloodshed, cruelty, and a long-forgotten force that still seethes beneath the surface. Unseen, yet undeniable, whispering through the cracks of stone that have weathered the weight of centuries, its elliptical ring of ruin cloaked not just in history, but in something darker, something unnatural. For while tourists pass beneath its towering arches during the day, clicking photographs and marveling at Roman engineering, at night, the atmosphere curdles into something colder than the grave, and those who have dared to remain past closing hours have spoken in hushed tone as if they speak at all of things that move in the gloom, of voices in Latin chanting beneath the earth, and of the echo of sandals slapping against stone where no man walks. And it is said by the Vatican's own hidden records that a Roman priest, possessed by a vision in 1748, scrawled the words, Milites tenebris, surgent soldiers of darkness, will race across the walls of his cell before vanishing entirely, leaving behind only blood and a fetid odor that no sage nor sacrament could cleanse. For the Colosseum is not merely haunted by the ghosts of gladiators and slaves, but by something far more organized, far more deliberate, a legion of the dead who remember their purpose, who remember their training, and who gather in the blackest corners of the afterlife, awaiting a call to arms. And those who study the occult believe the Colosseum was built not as an amphitheater, but as a gate, a locus of ritual slaughter engineered by Roman mystics to thin the veil between worlds, where the dying screams of man and beast alike could be funneled into a vortex of spiritual energy, so potent that the dead could be tethered in fury, not to move on, but to serve, to remain, to wait for a war that never came but may yet. Four strange things began to stir once again in 1932 when Mussolini, obsessed with ancient Rome, unearthed a sealed subchamber below the Colosseum's foundations. A vault carved with prayers in archaic Etruscan, bound with iron and cedar, and from the moment it was opened, the city began to experience nights that didn't seem to end, a time when clocks spun backward and local cats howled in unison for reasons no one could explain. And since then, there have been more than 500 recorded disappearances inside the Colosseum after dark, who locked themselves in, only to never be found. Tourists who wandered into the lower levels and reappeared days later in a catatonic state, eyes white, mouths silently mouthing words in Latin, their minds fractured beyond repair. And one American paranormal team in 1997 caught on camera a full spectral battalion, their forms shimmering in phosphorescent gold, moving in tight formation beneath the arena floor, wielding weapons not of this world, their faces trapped in expressions of perpetual rage, as if their deaths had not released them, but only intensified. Their hatred for the living energy so malevolent that their very presence shorted out the crew's equipment and permanently altered the DNA of one cameraman's unborn child, causing him to be born with the uncanny ability to speak ancient dialects of Latin, despite no exposure to the language. Mother still believes the child is not hers, but a vessel for something that entered her womb the night they fled Rome. And this is not the only instance of strange births or psychic phenomena linked to the Colosseum. For, according to unverified reports from Rome's Vatican adjacent asylum, nearly every decade sees the admittance of individuals claiming to have seen the general, a translucent figure clad in crimson-plumed armor, bearing a sword made of shadow and flame, who speaks in riddles and commands obedience from other spirits, some of whom appear as spectral lions, others as headless gladiators who continue to fight phantom battles in silence, repeating their deaths over and over as if caught in a curse forged by gods long buried beneath histories, loosened during full moons. It's said that the wind through the Colosseum turns to the sound of battle horns, the metallic clang of swords, and the pained grunts of men locked in eternal struggle. And if one listens closely, they can hear the name Aelius whispered again and again, believed to be the real name of the phantom general, who, in life, may have been a disgraced commander executed for leading a failed rebellion, his body buried beneath the sands of the arena, along with those who dared to fight beside him, cursed to never find rest, yet unwilling to submit to death's dominion. And it was in 2004, when an amateur historian from Naples, curious about alias, and driven by a series of dreams featuring the Colosseum drowned in blood, discovered an ancient manuscript in the basement of a church in Gaeta, describing a forbidden rite called animare militemto, animate the soldier ceremony. So dark it was struck from the Roman archives, and its priests exiled or executed, but some survived, passing the knowledge down through secret orders which still exist today. And in that manuscript were instructions on how to awaken the Colosseum's slumbering army, detailing chants, blood rituals, and the use of an artifact known as the Corvus Oculus Ravens, I believed to be a shard of obsidian said to have fallen from a meteor during Rome's founding and carved into an amulet that allows the wearer to command the dead with a mere thought. And while skeptics dismissed this as myth, the historian was found weeks later, torn to pieces in his apartment, the word Corvus etched into the ceiling above him in a language lost to time. And since then, several groups have attempted to recover this amulet, rumored to be hidden within the Colosseum's labyrinthine tunnels, only to vanish without a trace or return hollowed, speaking only in screams. One group even transmitting a final message, composed entirely of coordinates and a single phrase, "He walks again." And though the Italian government denies any knowledge of supernatural activity, internal documents leaked in 2011 by a former cultural minister revealed that seismic scanners installed beneath the Colosseum had picked up rhythmic vibrations, resembling marching feet every equinox and solstice, as if an entire army were pacing in unison deep below the earth, waiting for something gore. Samionetto released them. And what terrifies the few scholars willing to speak is the recent alignment of celestial bodies that mirror those from a Roman prophecy, predicting the return of the Legion Unbound during a blood moon over Rome, which occurred just 2 months ago. And ever since, animals have gone missing, electrical storms have hovered over the city, despite clear skies, and a low-frequency hum, undetectable to most humans but unbearable to dogs and children, has been recorded near the Colosseum's ancient drainage system. And local residents have begun reporting shadows inside their homes shaped like armored men, sometimes moving against the light, sometimes staring directly at them without eyes, without mouths, just endless rage and the scent of wet iron. And now, the Vatican has quietly reassembled a secret council of exorcists and historians under the codename Project Domitian, whose purpose is not to cleanse, but to contain. For they know the Colosseum cannot be purified, it can only be imprisoned, its horrors sealed behind rites older than Christianity itself. And should the wrong person complete the animare rite during the coming eclipsing event, prophesied by the Sibylline texts, to mark the rise of the undead, General's supernatural army beneath Rome could march once more, not in flesh, but in essence, in will, in unquenchable vengeance, capable of possessing the living and overtaking the minds of those weak enough to submit, forming a spectral empire with no borders and no death. Their motto not carved in marble, but in time itself, Gloria Sanguinum Perpetuum Glory, to eternal blood. And so, when you next stand in the shadow of the Colosseum, feel the stones beneath your feet, listen not to the laughter of tourists, but to the deeper hum, the heartbeat of a force that once bathed this arena in blood, and now waits, patient, unyielding, gathering strength, for the dead remember, and they do not forgive. They say history lives in the stones of the Colosseum, but what if it doesn't? Just live what if it waits? If you ever visit Rome, be sure to leave before dark, or you might not leave at all.